Continuing with ward off, we'll put in the hands, covered the footwork in the previous video. So we're at the end of commencement, and just to review, ward off, turn and grab the ball, shift the weight, step in forward, shift the weight, and turn. So let's take a closer look at the hands and the arms. So once I'm at the end of commencement, we open the hip, rotate the pelvis, turn the toes out. As I do that, as my hip moves back slightly, I want to try and create the feeling that this hip grabs this elbow. And if I've got a sphere here, okay, I want my elbow to come up the front of the sphere and on top. Okay? So it's like I'm dragging my arm up the front of a ball and then resting it on top. Okay? If I carried on, my arm would come down the back of the ball, but I don't want to go that far, just up. Okay? Just to give you an idea of what's here. So as I open this hip and my pelvis swings, this hip grabs this right elbow, drags it up. Okay. It saves me kind of doing all my body movements separately. I don't really want to turn and do this and have everything working independently. I try and coordinate the body and make it a little bit more effective and efficient. So we're directing from the pelvic or center movement, center of the body. So remember, we're looking for basic physical attributes to train into the body. This one being a little bit more on the center movement, which ties in with the rotating the weighted hip. Okay. So as this turns, I drag this arm up the front of the sphere, rest it on top. Okay. Try not to come the other way. Okay. Don't come up the back and over the top this way. Drag the elbow with the hip. Drag the elbow with the hip. Okay. From the side, in commencement or at the end of commencement, okay, and then as I rotate the hip open, as my hip moves, and I feel that my hip grabs my elbow and pulls it up the front on top of the ball. Okay. Now if you can see that, and hopefully you can see some kind of a connection there to here. And then from there, once I've got that, I'm gonna have this arm, as I turn the body, let the body swing the arm so it comes underneath the ball. So it's like we're going to grab the ball, I turn, boom. Now my hands are above each other, and at this point we would generally say you catch a drop of water. So if I had a drop of water in the center of this palm and it fell, it would hit the exact same point in the center of the bottom palm. So as I turn and grab the ball, I catch a drop of water. My weight at this time is still in this left leg here. I'm not going to shift forward. As I do that, that comes next. So we're keeping the feet, toes pointing forward, turn, weight into the left leg, grab a ball. Obviously the same would go for the other side, but everything's switched around. So now it's the left arm being dragged up, right arm scooping underneath on the first side. Right arm dragged up, left hand underneath, catch a drop of water. And once we've done that, we're going to shift the weight. So I grab the ball, I shift the weight like I'm sinking into the ground, and gravity then As I sink my weight and let everything go, relax, gravity kind of pulls me between my feet. So my pelvis shifts effortlessly between my feet. Okay. So I shift. And then I'm going to move my pelvis over my foot. As I do that, I want this left hip to squeeze my left elbow forward, so straight towards you. Okay. So as I move my pelvis, my left hip squeezes my elbow. See, this hand has now come forward. So I'm no longer catching a drop of water. This hand has come out. But it's come from here. Shift the weight. Pelvis over the foot. Squeeze the arm forward. And once again, turn, grab the ball. Shift the weight. Pelvis over the foot. Squeeze the arm forward. And once more. Turn, grab a ball. Shift the weight. Pelvis over the foot. Squeeze the arm forward. As you can see now, this has already been pushed out to the front a little. Okay. It's quite common to leave this here while you're doing the step and shift. And then you've got to bring everything up. And it involves working the arms more individually on their own, rather than from the whole body movement. Okay. So, grab ball, shift the weight, pelvis over the foot, squeeze the arm. Now I'm going to step with my left leg, and I'm going to squeeze my left arm forward a little bit more because my center's moving. I still keep this connection between the hip and the elbow. I step, squeeze the arm a little bit more. Now you notice my arms come a little bit further forward and up. My weight is still at the back. Then I'm going to shift my weight again by relaxing into the ground, releasing this hip, shifting. And then I'm going to rotate this hip, the bikini line area, not pulling from the back muscles, but from this area. I'm going to close this. And as I close, it's going to fold my left arm across, bring my back toes round like you did in the previous bit with the footwork, and this hand's going to float down to the sides. Okay. So grab the ball, shift the weight, relax it, pelvis over the foot, step, squeeze the arm forward a little bit more, shift the weight, and then turn, finishing off the ward-off posture. One more time. So, turn and grab the ball. Shift the weight underground. So you release. Let the weight shift effortlessly. Pelvis over the foot. This hip squeezes this elbow. Here. Step. Squeeze this arm forward a little bit more. Keep the weight in the back foot, the right foot. Now shift the weight again. Effortless release and shift. And then close the left bikini line, pulling everything around to the front. This arm floating down. As you did in the footwork, the whole body comes around to the front, including the back leg and foot. This arm folds across. So we get 1, grab the ball. 2, shift the weight. 3, pelvis over the foot, squeeze the arm. 4, step, squeeze the arm a little more. 5, shift the weight. 6, turn. And there's your water off. Do that again at a couple of different angles. So I'll do it from this side. So here, I turn, grab the ball, and I shift the weight. Pelvis over the foot, and watch for this left hand on the bottom. It squeezes forward. Now as I step, I'm going to squeeze this a little bit more. Then I'm going to shift the weight, moving my body into my arm. And then I'm going to rotate the left bikini line. Coming around. Try this way. It won't be so obvious from this way, but gives you another angle. I'll do it at a slight angle. Okay. There we go. Okay. So I turn and grab the ball. Shift the weight. Pelvis over the foot, squeeze the arm. Step. Shift. 2. One more from the front. Turn, grab a ball, shift the weight. Pelvis over the foot, squeeze the arm. Step, squeeze the arm a little more. Shift the weight forward by relaxing. And then 2. Boom. There we go. There's water off. Do you remember stuff you learned with the footwork in the previous lesson? All of that still applies. And also, we're trying to get some coordination and connection between the center and the arms and the hands, and also the foot as well, the feet. So we're looking for everything to be directed from this point as much as possible. If you remember from either the lessons or some of the other parts of the course, the 3 ways we can move the center. One is by rotating the pelvis, so I turn the pelvis, the center moves. The other one is by shifting the weight, so I shift the weight, center moves. And then taking a step, if I take a step, the center moves. So any of those individually or in combination are used to move the physical center of the body, and this is where we try and place our attention in the beginning to try and direct everything from this point. Because when the pelvis moves, the hips to a certain point will move either in space or through space. Then as my hip kind of moves back a little, I'm trying to make that connection between the hip and the elbow. So I get that from this angle. As I turn, drag the arm up. I'm not trying to lift my arm, I'm trying to get the feel that this is relaxed and that this pulls, so it pulls the arm up because I can't be bothered. Okay, all right. So have a try. Okay, stay with that for a little while. Get used to the footwork. Get used to the arms, and develop some connections if you can. The best way to develop them is through relaxing. So the more you can release and let go, the more you'll find those connections will take place. You're not trying to relax and be slumped and limp. That's too much. We still want the bones to have their place as the structure, okay? And everything then hangs off the bones. And as the muscles begin to hang off the bones, they begin to stretch other tissues in the body, which create different connections than we're used to. So it's not the physical connections, like tense and tight. It's relaxed, but still has good structure. So have a play with that, and I'll catch you in the next lesson. Thank you.